Welcome to the Line Life podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite, Senior Editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Hello and welcome to the Line Life podcast. My name is Amy Fischbach and I'm the field editor for T&D World magazine. For this episode in our In Case You Missed It series, we are featuring the article Cheers to 40 Years from the 2024 T&D World Annual Lineworker Supplement. This special supplement will be distributed at the T&D World booth at the International Lineman's Expo, so please come on by and pick up a copy of the magazine. While you're there, you can also participate in the podcast recording, and you'll receive a giveaway from the sponsor of our podcast, Husky Tools. Cheers to 40 years. This is written and narrated by me, Amy Fischbach. Over the last 4 decades, line workers and their families have come together to celebrate the line trade at the International Lineman's Rodeo. If line workers could snag a time machine, they could set it to September 1984 at the Manhattan Vocational Technical College in Manhattan, Kansas, the date of the very first International Lineman's Rodeo. On that day, 12 teams of journeyman line workers from 4 utilities in Kansas and Missouri blazed the trail to an annual tradition. Last year, the number of competitors skyrocketed to 440 apprentices and 292 journeyman teams compared to 36 journeyman line workers in 1984. While the event has experienced explosive growth, its mission has remained the same: to showcase safety in the line trade and educate the public about what line workers do to power their communities. As the event is heading into its 40th year, it's a great milestone to celebrate, said Dennis Kerr, who retired from DTE Energy and is now the co-chairman of the International Lineman's Rodeo Association, or ILRA. He says overall, the International Lineman's Rodeo is an opportunity to see old friends and meet new ones. He enjoys seeing all the competitors line up to get their packets, joining line workers and their families for the Lineman's Barbecue the day before the competition, and announcing the scholarship award winners. This event brings the whole brotherhood and sisterhood together for a great competition, Kerr says. It demonstrates how an event like this, run by all volunteers, can make it a family event for everyone to enjoy, have fun, be challenged on events, and promote the line trade. Kerr said the event has grown because every year the best of the best in the world is competing at a very high level and is promoting the skills and safety of line workers. Every line worker who competes wants to be the best of the best for this competition, Kerr says. Every year we see the camaraderie that has developed and the joys of seeing each other compete, plus a learning experience to watch some different ways of accomplishing an event. Looking back, 4 decades ago, Dale Warman, a retired supervisor from Kansas City Power and Light, KCP&L, now Evergy, partnered with Tom White from TWSCO and Charlie Young from Southwest Line Construction to organize the first Lineman's Rodeo. Today he serves as the co-chairman of the ILRA along with Kerr. One of his favorite parts of the International Lineman's Rodeo Week is seeing all the line workers and their families enjoying themselves. It's what makes me smile every year, says Warman, who has a special sign dedicated to him on the rodeo grounds and is part of the Lineman's Hall of Fame. It is for the line workers and put on by line workers to ensure we practice safety rules in our daily work. While he has had a lot of great memories over the years, one particular rodeo sticks out in his mind. The year that it rained and the heavy rainfall transformed the rodeo grounds from dry packed dirt to muddy terrain. We were all in raincoats and stayed inside the tents to keep dry, he recalled. In his experience, the last 40 years have flown by, and he can't believe the event is celebrating its 40th anniversary. For 2024, the ILRA is planning to celebrate all the volunteers who have been involved for years to make the event a success and are still helping it to grow today. Our success has been possible due to all the people who make it possible: the judges, the ground crews who work all year getting the grounds ready, and a board of directors who have the line workers and their families as top priority and have been for 40 years, he says. Mike Willman, the voice of the rodeo, has been involved with the International Lineman's Rodeo since 1992. Line workers can spot him as a DJ at the Lineman's Barbecue, the MC on the award stage, and as the announcer on the rodeo grounds. He says enormous work goes on behind the scenes and it takes a large number of volunteers to host the rodeo. I've actually been part of the rodeo for 32 years, So I've seen a lot of things come and go, says Willman, who joined the ILRA while working at Kansas City Power and Light and is now producing a special Ruby-themed video to show during the 40th anniversary of the event. In those days, we actually had industry characters like Louie the Lightning Bug and Reddy Kilowatt roaming the grounds in costume. It's always been a colorful event filled with enthusiastic competitors, vendors, and families. Scaling to the top. While the Lineman's Rodeo has its roots in Manhattan, Kansas, the event moved from KCP&L's Sub 1 training grounds to St. Louis for the 100th anniversary of the IBEW to Worlds of Fun and the West Bottoms. Today, the Lineman's Rodeo home is located at the Agricultural Hall of Fame grounds in Bonner Springs, Kansas. One competitor who has been at the International Lineman's Rodeo for 25 out of the last 40 years is Bruce Thompson, an International Lineman's Rodeo competitor who retired from Southern California Edison, or SCE, and IBEW Local 47. Actually went back there last year and competed in the rodeo as a climber at 66 years old with a team I had competed with before, including my friend Bryce Monday, who is like a firecracker. He's fast, good, and loves the trade, he says. We finished in the top 20% of our division. I'll take it. That's a win. When he looks back on his time competing at the rodeo, he's flooded with a lot of good memories. For example, he had the opportunity to compete on the same journeyman team as his son Bruce and was one of the first to wear a GoPro at the rodeo to record the competitors in action. Back in 1992 at his first rodeo, he also constructed one of the first tool carts out of 1-inch electric metallic tube conduit, while other teams were using wheelbarrows to haul around their tools, PPE, and supplies on the rodeo grounds. Another unforgettable experience was the year he and his team won a trophy, and they were on the same plane as the winning teams from San Diego Gas and Electric, or SDG&E, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, LADWP, and SCE. It was a West Coast sweep, and all of our teams were on the same plane with our hardware, he says. It was just one of those things I'll never forget. For many of the competitors, the most memorable moments are centered around climbing to the top of their divisions. For example, Corey Roosh, a power line maintainer for Hydro One in Waterford, Ontario, Canada, will never forget when she and her teammates, Rudy Carrick and Richard Smedley, won second place in the senior division in 2019. She says the rodeo gets bigger every year, and she enjoys seeing the pride in the trade and competing. Thank you for all the wonderful memories, she says. I've competed in 4 rodeos, and I've loved every minute of it. Milton Draper, a crew foreman for Ameren, Illinois and Edwardsville, Illinois, says his favorite memory was being able to walk across the stage at the International Lineman's Rodeo Award Banquet in 2019. It's such an amazing event to get together with different line workers across the globe, he says. We're able to share different tricks of the trade and the camaraderie it has with different ones for 40 years. One of his favorite parts of the International Lineman's Rodeo is the competitive attitude of all the competitors. When it's go time, everyone has their game face on and is ready to have a good, safe time, he says. Since the event started 40 years ago, it has grown so much between different vendors and new tools. The best part about it is having more and more competitors, he says. We have more who want to be a part of it. They want to be able to say, yeah, I competed at the International Lineman's Rodeo with their chest held high. This year, Draper will be coaching the apprentices, scheduling practices, and helping the Ameren, Illinois teams with anything they need on site. He said he loves everything about the rodeo. I enjoy seeing friends from across the world year after year and watching some amazing competitors compete, Draper says. This will be my 9th or 10th year. I've been a competitor, a judge, and observer. It's just so fun and addicting to be part of the competition in any way possible. He said it's truly a family event that he enjoys spending with his wife and 2 children who travel from Illinois to Kansas for International Lineman's Rodeo Week. My family personally enjoys it, said Draper, who was a guest on the T&D World Line Life podcast, along with his son Preston at last year's Lineman's Expo. My kids have been coming since they were in the womb, and now I feel like my son Preston knows more people than I do. Focus on safety. The International Lineman's Rodeo is all about showcasing the skills of the trade, but it's also about safety. From Wednesday through Saturday night of Rodeo Week, safety is always top of mind, and the ILRA has volunteers to supervise safe work practices on the rodeo grounds. For example, Michael Stremmel, Electric Operations Inspector for Midwest Energy Incorporated in Hays, Kansas, served as a safety observer on the sidelines at the 2023 International Lineman's Rodeo. His team, which included Bill Nolan and John Horeski, won first place in the senior division in 2014. I'm looking forward to this year's event, and it's great to see this continuing year after year to showcase the electric utility industry and the line trade, he says. I enjoy seeing the rodeo competition and watching line workers demonstrate their skills. It's amazing seeing how the event has grown every year, and the ILRA committee and the volunteers are what keeps this great event going. During the Lineman's Expo, in which vendors showcase their tools and technology for the line trade, Stremmel and Doug Flick will be raising money to support the Flick Stremmel Lineman Scholarship Foundation with their third annual Lineman Gun Raffle. To get ready for the big day, he's attending planning meetings throughout the year prior to the actual event. He says he's thankful for all the past committee members who have given so much of their time to make the event what it is today. I am glad to be on board as an ILRA volunteer to help keep this event going and growing, he says. I'm looking forward to the 50th anniversary of this event. Another ILRA board member, Rustin Owen, is a senior advanced field service engineer for Honeywell Salisbury in Antwerp, Ohio. He first competed at the International Lineman's Rodeo as part of the military division, and at that point in time, he was a competitor looking at an event with tools he had never used. Multiple teams were giving pointers and helping from their experience in the field at the event, Owen says. That's when you know you're among the best, when they help you out in a competition. Owen said he is excited to be part of International Lineman's Rodeo and to share his experience with his father, a retired line worker. I love spending the whole week with friends from around the world who are now more like family, he says. It's mind-blowing to see how far it has come and how much it has grown. This year, Owen says it's a double celebration, 40 years of the Lineman's Rodeo and 100 years since the patent for the line hose, which is a major safety component in line work, and one that has been in the rodeo for many years. He's also looking forward to the safety conference. While the original Lineman's Rodeo just included the competition, the International Lineman's Rodeo now comprises of a 1.5-day safety and training conference to kick off Rodeo Week. During this conference, which is free and open to attendees, line program students, young apprentices, and seasoned journeymen can listen to presentations from personal injury stories to how to personally wear personal protective equipment, or PPE, in the field and more. As part of the safety committee, we are putting together a great conference with some great education for the industry, Owen says. At the International Lineman's Rodeo, the competitors can also share best practices and how they are doing work safely and efficiently. As Kerr looks ahead to the future of the event, he hopes to see new line workers attending and learning the safe way to do their work from the older and more experienced line workers. He said this year will be better than last year, and each year attendees will continue to see improvements. Many of our board members are getting older and will eventually completely retire, so hopefully our replacements will have the same enthusiasm to maintain the success and integrity of the ILRA, he says. The International Lineman's Rodeo is a great event that I hope will continue for years to come. This article also included 2 sidebars. The first is called Tracing the Timeline of the Rodeo. The Lineman's Rodeo, which went from national to international when England sent teams, has moved around the Midwest over the last 40 years. Here is a rundown of the different venues for the event. From 1984 to 1985, a total of 36 competitors participated in the first Lineman's Rodeo at the Manhattan Vocational Technical College in Manhattan, Kansas. From 1986 to 1990, the event moved to KCP&L's Sub 1 training grounds near Front Street in Manchester. In 1991, the rodeo relocated to St. Louis for 1 year to celebrate the IBEW's 100th anniversary. From 1992 to 1994, the event moves to land south of Worlds of Fun. From 1995 to 1998, the rodeo took place in the West Bottoms area of Kansas City, Missouri, near the Golden Ox Steakhouse and former stockyards. From 1999 to the present, the International Lineman's Rodeo happens every October at the Agricultural Hall of Fame grounds in Bonner Springs, Kansas. Apprentices from Evergy replace poles on the ground to prepare for the annual competition. The next sidebar is called 10 Tips to Go from the Rodeo Grounds to the Award Stage. Number 1, be as calm as possible, said Milton Draper, crew foreman for Ameren, Illinois. Number 2, practice, practice, practice. If you can get your tools on fast, you can cut your time down tremendously, Draper added. Number 3, don't overthink it. Sometimes slow and steady wins the race, he says. Number 4, run as clean as possible and communicate with your team members. Encourage your teammates to go out, have fun, and do your best, said Michael Strummel of Midwest Energy. Number 5, move smoothly through the events and don't rush or get too excited. For those coming the first time, take a deep breath and relax, said Rustin Owen, member of the ILRA Safety Committee. Number 6, make every move count. Bruce Thompson, a longtime competitor, advised. Instead of running around like a madman or a chicken with your head cut off, make less moves and you will be done sooner. It's like a mathematical formula. For example, back in 1991, he remembers going so fast during the speed climb that out of the corner of his eye, he spotted his raw egg flying down to the ground. Slower is faster, he learned. Number 7, record your practices. An apprentice asked Thompson for help with the speed climb, and he filmed him scaling and descending the pole and then showed him a different way to do it. When he saw that video, it's literally like the light bulb went off in his head. He saw what I was telling him, and he corrected it and went on to win the speed climb in Kansas City that year. That made me incredibly proud. Number 8, climb the pole in an efficient way. Instead of pulling the foot away from the pole, take bigger steps, bend your knee, and let it drop straight down, Thompson added. If you gain too much speed coming down, you're not going to be able to stop yourself, he says. Number 9, consider taping your legs for the hurt man rescue. To avoid chafing and discomfort during the rodeo, Thompson and his team were one of the first to put tape on their legs so the gaff pad has a good surface to hit the leg. This gets your pants in the exact spot, eliminates creases, and prevents the hair on the legs from rubbing up against the pad. Your hair can feel like sandpaper, Thompson says. You can also shave a little patch right where the gaff pad goes so your legs don't bleed. Number 10, work as a team. The little things are what make or break a team, said Corey Roosh, a power line maintainer for Hydro One and former competitor. To learn more about the International Lineman's Rodeo, you can also check out the Lineworker Supplement and read this article online at www.tdworld.com. And again, make sure that you stop by the T&D World booth at the International Lineman's Expo. We'll have an opportunity for you to enter a drawing and also subscribe to the Lineman Life e-newsletter and also the print or digital edition of T&D World magazine. And again, you'll have the chance to participate in a recording of the Line Life podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Line Life podcast.
This episode of the Line Life podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlethwaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You could also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.